Or do you want to be the person that's helpful, that soothes, that loves? Because you can still stand tall and be as big as you want to be when you are this person. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Becoming the Better You. I apologize for my voice, and allergies are just what they are. And we have this amazing guest, Angie Easley, with us today. And I met her in Nashville at Rise and Record. You never know what the power of networking is going to bring. Welcome, Angie.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Brenda.
Absolutely. So I know your story, but they don't know your story. And it is absolutely fantastic at how you have moved beyond and then how that you're doing something about it with your own podcast. So I'm going to play a little video and let them kind of hear what's going on and the start of what your story is. And then I'm going to let you finish.
At that moment, I picked up the phone, and there was this man's voice on the other line that said, "Miss Harmon, I know you're aware that your husband was on a plane with Circuit City, and I hate to inform you that it crashed and there are no survivors." Hi, I'm Angie Easley, and I am the host of the podcast Resilience Reborn. At a young age of 15 is when I actually met my late husband, Kyle. My life with him was actually incredible. It was wonderful. It was everything that I thought that I wanted. The picture perfect. He was a control buyer for Circuit City. He came home in December of 2004, and he was so excited. He actually got a promotion with Circuit City. And he said, I am gonna ride on the corporate jet for this trip, and I get to go to the Sony plant with all of the very important people with the company. On Valentine's Day, February 14th, 2005, he actually made this really awesome Valentine's dinner for me at home. I came home from teaching voice lessons, and I remember that night crying to myself because I knew that it was going to be the last time I was with him. I had this overwhelming feeling that my world was going to change. I went to school and my phone rang. Another student answered the phone. They said they need you in the office. So I picked up the phone, and he said, "Well, you understand that there were 8 people on there, and I need to inform you that it crashed and there were no survivors." I recall screaming and yelling at this man on the other end that he was wrong. What I knew didn't happen. It wasn't true. I got very close with one of the other widows. Her husband was also on the plane. She had this great idea that we should go scour the crash site. And we were at the crash site in February of 2006. She said, "Tell me one thing that you would want to find." The only thing that I could think of really that would even be out there would be his wedding band. I actually thought that this is insane. There's no way we're gonna find a small wedding band. I said, "I can't do this anymore. I want to go back to the hotel." I said, "Okay, I'm gonna stay in the car," and the next thing I know, she is running towards me, and her hand is clasped, and she goes, "Tell me exactly what it looked like. Just describe it to me." And so I told her, and she opened her hand, and there was his wedding band that we found on the year anniversary. I didn't think it could be real. In that moment, I knew that was my sign. That was the one thing that I had been searching for that kind of closed that chapter for me. The community of the widows, we really kind of held each other together. We were all feeling the same things. We all had the same thoughts.
no matter how much time passes, you are still going to relive things and you are still going to remember things, and it can bring you to tears. It can hit you in a completely different way. I think it's just a matter of how you learn to deal and cope with that.
That's one of the reasons that I am doing what I am today, and I'm starting this community, Resilience Reborn, in our podcast, to be able to give hope to other people and know that no matter your journey, whatever you're going through, that there is always a community and there are other people that will walk alongside you and can carry you on that journey.
That was just an amazing video. Can you tell me what inspired you to make that?
I think, now it has been almost 20 years since the death of my first husband, Kyle. And, for many years, as I was traveling this healing journey and this grief journey, I was doing lots of things along the way to help my pain and my grief. But it wasn't until probably about 2 or 3 years ago that I actually went on a retreat with a bunch of other widows, where I found just being in that space and talking to other people and being with like-minded people that had been through something similar to what I had been through, that I really found actually joy in telling my story, and knowing that I could help other people by just telling, who I am and what my story is, and that this is real life. So I think that was the moment where I realized that there was something else for me in this journey. It wasn't just to heal on my own, but a lot of that has taken place these last 3 years over me, just being open about my life and what occurred, and that's really brought me a lot of healing.
Man, I couldn't even imagine what it was like just to get that phone call. But
It,
let let's talk about that part, the phone
mhm.
call.
Yeah. Um, in what that video that you showed didn't really capture was that I did have a premonition that this was going to happen, and I actually asked him not to go, even went to lengths of cutting off his alarm so he wouldn't wake up and things like that.
Let's talk about that phone call.
Yeah. So like I said, I think, I had the premonition, and when I woke up that morning, he left very, very early. I vaguely remember him just kissing me on the cheek to say goodbye. But when I woke up, there was just something different that I felt that day. I didn't feel, centered, or I felt sad, and so I went into work as usual, and I am a choral director. So I was rehearsing music with my class. And if anybody knows me, I hate interruptions during class. Like, I'm in the groove, I'm working, and I don't want to have an interruption, with the phone ringing. So a lot of the times, if the phone would ring into my classroom, my students would just go pick it up. And so the same thing happened. We got, the phone rang. I was really into rehearsal, and the young lady looked at me and she goes, "They need to talk to you." And I said, "Well, I'm busy right now. Can you just take a message, whatever they need, and I'll send whatever." It's normally they need a kid, right?
Right.
And so she did say that, and they said, "No, they need to talk to you." So I went over to the phone, and it was just for them to say, "We need you in the main office right now." At that moment, I 100% knew what was going to happen. I felt my heart sink. Um, I know that I couldn't get to the office, which was very near to my classroom, fast enough, but it felt like I was going very, very slow. Just to walk into the main office, and they put me on the phone in there, where I had this other man on the other end telling me exactly what I knew he was going to tell me, but I was refusing to believe it. And it was just that there, as there were 8 men on the Circuit City corporate jet, and we need to inform you that it crashed and there are no survivors.
Mm.
And I'm standing in the middle of the main office of the school that I worked in. At that point, screaming to this man saying, "It's not true. It's not true. There's no way this is true. This is a joke." And I think at that point, someone must have taken the phone from me and they moved me back into another room. But they did not tell anybody what they were doing, like why they were calling or why they needed to talk to me. Otherwise, I don't think that the administrative staff would have let that happen, right in the middle of the main office. So from that point forward, I don't recall a whole lot after that happened.
Wow. So now you had to go through the process of realizing that your spouse has just been killed.
Yes.
How do you even arrange a funeral for that? I mean, was there a body? What
Yeah.
happened with that?
Yeah. This was an extremely long process. Thank God that I had my family because they were able to navigate. I was 25 at the time.
Right.
Kyle and I had never even talked about what would happen if either one of us died. I didn't even know, does he want to be buried? Does he want to be cremated? These were all things that I just had no idea how to navigate. So being that the crash actually happened in Colorado, there was a lot of time, and the fact that that it was a plane crash, there had to be investigations.
Mhm.
So things were not cleaned. The site was not cleaned properly. It took so long, and then it took even longer to get the bodies back to Virginia.
Right.
I can't even tell you. I would have to go back and look at the dates of when everything happened. It was not quick. I do know that.
So now you have that
Normally when you
drawn out process where you can't even
Yes.
close it. Yeah.
Yes. So it was very drawn out before they could even get the body back to Virginia. I had a service. We lived in Richmond, Virginia at the time. So there was a service there. And then we had a service in Roanoke, Virginia, where we are both from. And that is where actually he's buried. So it was, getting, him from Colorado to Richmond and then Richmond to Virginia. Um, I don't know how all of that got planned. I really honestly can't tell you. Um, it was a lot of it had to do with my church family from Richmond, and then I think Kyle's family in Roanoke and
Mhm.
my family that kind of navigated all that for me. Um, those things are just stripped from my memory for whatever reason, and I can't recall a lot of
That's your
it.
defense mechanism.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
Yes, you're putting up those blocks. It's your defense mechanism.
yeah,
So
yeah.
now let's kind of move. So you had a premonition.
Hmm.
You knew something might happen,
Hmm.
and then you got this devastating news. But let's fast forward.
Yeah.
You went back to this site years later, correct?
Actually, it was 1 year later. They
Okay.
offered Circuit City was really, really wonderful during all of this. They offered for any of the family members to go out immediately after it happened if they wanted to, and I just was not in the place. My family didn't believe that I was in a place that would benefit me at that time, so I chose not to do that. And then the crash site happened on a huge ranch, and there was a little like memorial that was already there with a chain link fence. So Circuit City bought a plot, and they actually had a stone made in memory of all of the people that passed away on that flight. And so on the year anniversary, they held a memorial service actually at the site.
Okay.
And so I did go out. I went out with my family and Kyle's family, and I actually sang at that memorial ceremony. And that, to me, I think was the first moment that I had a small sense of peace. Like I
Mhm.
had said before, the crash site was just still littered with with debris and things like that. So I actually went and took a metal detector with one of the other widows, and we were searching the crash site, and that's where I actually found his wedding band a year later.
Wow.
And
Wow.
yeah, so yes, I did go a year later. And then I want to say, I believe it was the 10-year anniversary. I actually flew out there on my own again. I just, for all of these years, I just have been searching. I've moved forward, and I have chosen every day to wake up and live my life to the best that I can, because I know this is my path. But there just has always been, there's always something I feel that's missing. And,
Mhm.
I felt maybe when I went after, the year anniversary, I was surrounded by so many people. And I don't know that I really truly got everything that I needed out of that trip. So I felt years later that this is something I needed to do on my own. So I took a solo trip, and I went out there and I visited the site, and I don't know if it gave me anything or not, but I knew that I did it, and that I was able to
Regardless, you
have.
tried it. Yes,
Yeah,
you did it. Yes.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So those are the 2 times I have been out there.
And that's it. You haven't been back.
I have not. I have not. I actually have friends that live out there now, and I truly do want to take um my current husband Trey, and I would love to take my girls too, just so they can kind of, it's part of me.
Mhm. Understand your path and your
Yep.
not just your path, but your past and why you do some of the things you do now. Because I'm looking at
Yeah.
this fantastic sign behind you that says Resilience Reborn. And you
Yeah.
and your current husband have this podcast, right?
Yes,
So
yes, we do.
let's now get into the joy. Let's get
Yeah.
into the new life, the new creation, and what that looks like.
Yeah. So as I said, I went on this retreat with widows, and it was, I had some other women, and they knew I was a teacher, and they looked at me and they said, "Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you speaking about your story and helping other people?" I just had no idea, but they thought that I was just such a light, and that I had so much to speak to, and that just really got me thinking. I've been a music educator for 23 years, and I
Mhm.
thought that's my path. That is what I am supposed to do. Since I was little, I have sung, and I actually I healed a lot of kids that I taught through doing that. And so I thought, this is my way of giving back, right? Um,
Right?
and and then finally, just education has changed so much, and I wasn't completely 100% happy with my job. And I looked at Trey one day, and I was like, I really think that I just want to quit my job, and I want to pursue this. I need a chance to really work on me and do the things that bring me joy, that can also allow me to heal even further than I already
Mhm.
have. Um,
Right.
so he's the most supportive husband ever, and he's like, "Let's do it. Let's do it." So we took a chance, and I did. I took last year off. I quit teaching, and he and I got a life coach, and they helped us with this venture, and we started Resilience Reborn. We launched in May, and you know my husband Trey, he has his own set of stories too, that kind of, bring this, to full
Mhm.
fruition. Um but it's a platform where we bring guests on that have had the same types of things or similar life adversities, trauma, loss, and we give them the space to tell their story and just make it known to the world that this is true. This is real life. We aren't the only ones that have a story, and we are loving the journey. We are loving meeting all the wonderful people and being able to help those. I mean, we've met so many wonderful people, and people have come into our lives that we have been able to help. And it's just, I've done more healing the past year doing this than I think I had the previous 19.
That's why becoming the better you, because
Yeah.
helping others helps you. I don't care
Yeah.
what anybody says. And then you hear other stories and you're thankful for the life that you have and what's going on in your life.
Mhm.
And I'm just a firm believer that if people want change, they'll find a way. And,
Yes.
if you can change your mindset and change your actions, that will change your life. And that's what we do here at Becoming the Better You, that we should always be striving to be the best version of yourself. And I
Yeah.
see that in you guys. I see you guys wanting that not only for yourself individually, but for your marriage, for each other. And I got a
Mhm.
chance to witness that in Nashville, and it's just
Mhm.
beautiful. The story's beautiful. But I got to
Yeah.
ask you a couple questions because I know
Yeah.
you guys' faith. What did that take I mean, were you a Christian prior to this plane crash? What was your thoughts with God? How did you wrestle through that?
Okay. Wow. Yes. So
Hmm.
yes, my first husband Kyle and I were very much into our faith. We actually met on a youth conference when we were 15, and so our marriage was really, God was a lot of the center of that. We were very involved in our church, and so when the plane crash happened, I became very angry, very, very
Mm,
angry at God. I questioned a lot of things. I wondered what I had done to deserve this. What did he do to deserve to die at the age of 25? Such a wonderful person. Why? Um, and I just ran. I ran from faith. I ran from God. Um, I d- I don't want to say that I ever quit believing. I just didn't trust.
mm.
And
Been there.
and so I just didn't do anything. I just didn't go to church. I didn't have that in my daily life anymore. Essentially, I would pray every day to God, but after this happened, I would pray or talk to Kyle. He was my God. And I was like,
Hmm.
you're going to give me the answers. Which he did not give me the answers. And
Right.
and so then fast forward a little bit, I met my current husband Trey, and he had a really traumatic accident happen in his life. His mom died when he was 15. And so he did not grow up going to church or believing in God. So when I met him, I was like, oh, this is good. This works because I don't have to worry about that aspect. We're both on the
Mhm.
same page as far as it comes to church and God and faith. Um, and that's the way we just lived our life. We just didn't really talk about it. um we would go to church occasionally, holidays or things like that. But during that entire time, I knew that I was missing something. I knew that I wasn't full, and I know now that's what I was missing. I was missing that in my life. But it just took so much time for me to know that it wasn't God. That everybody has a plan, they have a journey, and that was Kyle's journey, and this is my journey. Um so it wasn't until 2020, um my husband again had another life-changing adversity, and he actually realized that he had a problem with alcoholism. So he went into a rehab facility, and he found his faith in rehab, and he called me and he said, I'm going to get baptized. And I'm like, what? What are we doing here? And I was like, your family's supposed to be there at things like this, And he's like, well, wait, do you not want me to do it? I said, no, 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 no. You need to do it. And when he came home, that is when our marriage and our life with our children kind of did a flip. and
Mhm.
we brought faith into it. Now our girls knew about God, and they had Bibles, and I taught them to read the Bible, and that that we are faithful. But it wasn't like me growing up. I went to church every Sunday. I went to youth group. I sang in the choir. And
Mhm.
I always had felt guilty that I had not given that to my children. I want it to be their choice, but I'm the parent, and I need to show them what it can be, and then they make
Mhm.
that choice from
And the
there if this
beauty
is
of it.
what they want.
Yeah.
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 And so I knew that I didn't want to I wanted to mirror, I guess, the way that I grew up in a sense, right? So after Trey came home, that is when everything flipped, and we started looking for churches, and Trey actually believed in a higher power, and now we go to church regularly, and our girls are involved, and so we've it just has kind of come full circle. Just took many years.
You know, but that's the beauty of how God works,
Yeah.
because he had to take you on that journey to show you who he was. And
Yes.
and and you even had some turmoil in in this marriage. And
Oh,
we're going to talk
yeah.
to Trey and hear all
Yeah.
about that. But so you went through this with your first one, and then you kind of went
Mhm.
through some adversity with your second one. But look
I
at you
did.
guys now.
Oh, and I say in those moments when Trey came to me and he said, I know I have a problem. And I said, you 100% do. And it wasn't even that I gave him an ultimatum, because you can't do that with people like that. They have to want it for themselves. But he knew without a doubt that if things didn't change, he was going to lose everything that he had. And at that moment, I was so angry. It triggered so much for me. Um, I went back to I was angry at Kyle because he didn't listen to me. He didn't listen to
Hmm.
me say, "Don't go." And then I said, if he had have listened to me, I wouldn't be here today, and I wouldn't have to be going through this with my current husband. It brought back a lot of
Oh, I can't
old
even imagine, but I
feelings.
can see how. Yes.
Yes, I was angry at Trey. I did not want to be in the marriage. I even said to him, when you come back from rehab and healing, I don't know that this is what I want. Um, but I will tell you, our marriage is the strongest that it has ever been right now.
That's amazing. And look at God.
It really is.
Look
I
at
didn't know
God.
that we would come out on the other side of it. It takes a lot of work. It takes because I think we both, you know, I hate to use sometimes the word broken, but we all are in a sense. And when we both came into our marriage, we had not healed from a lot of things. And I don't know. I just think that it's beautiful how it worked out. It truly is. It truly is beautiful. It has just taken me many years to realize that.
And that's a long time, but then again, wasn't it worth it for what you got right now?
Oh my gosh. Yes. To know that Trey and I are on this venture, and that I never ever thought that he and I would be partners like this. And that we would find purpose in our pain and our tragedies. And it just it's amazing. I wish that so many other people could have that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you another question then. So you've got this new marriage, your new family, new life, and then adversity hits again. And now you're angry again, and you're blaming, and you're seeing things differently yet again, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
What went through your mind with that? I mean, did you want to walk away? Were you, I mean, what happened then? I know you were
Yeah.
angry and
Yep.
blaming, but what made you stay? I guess is what I should ask you.
Um okay. So after the plane crash and my first husband died, I had told myself, I will never depend on someone else the way that I did him. I truly, when he died, I was lost. I had never paid bills before. He literally took care of everything for me. I had no idea how I was going to live. I didn't know how I was going to pay for stuff. And I had said to myself, I will never allow that to happen to me again. I will be able to stand on my own 2 feet. Um, and so I knew when when all of this happened with Trey and that I would be okay. I was in a place I was much stronger. I have lived a lot of life since 25 and I knew that I was strong enough to handle being on my own, with my girls. Um but I knew that wasn't what was meant for me. I knew that I can't give up that easily. That just because you
Right,
have one little hiccup, not and I shouldn't say little. It wasn't a little hiccup. It was a huge, huge, huge deal, and it impacted my girl's life in a way that I didn't want to. Um,
right,
but in the end, so he was away for 6 weeks, and this was during COVID, so we were home. We were, all of schooling
mhm,
was online,
yeah,
and I was
everything shut down.
yes, and so when people talk about COVID, I say I'm thankful for it because it allowed me to be able to continue my life and have my girls at home and not really truly have to worry about a lot. Um, so I kind of used that time for me and I got back into therapy at that time, and so I was seeing a therapist virtually, and just I was able to, I had been keeping so much in for so long. I had been protecting my girls from, what was going on in our marriage and, Trey's battle with alcoholism. And after, he says, I need help. And the girls were fully aware, and it was an open conversation. So much was lifted off of me. I didn't feel that I had to hide. And so
Right,
it was open conversations with them, and we cried and we talked. And so I think that that time was also healing for us. But Trey was not here, so he was at a distance. And so I kind of worked on my relationship with myself and my girls, and I knew that when he were, to come out of that would be a whole separate, story that I would have to manage the way that we were together in our marriage. Um,
right.
so, I tried to dig deep into all of the tools that I had learned throughout the years for coping. And, I did a lot of self-reflection, and is this the life that I want? And that I couldn't break up my family. I knew that without a doubt. I love Trey. I never quit loving him. I will never stop, rooting for him. And he's just proof that no matter the obstacle, you can work through it. And that's what I did day by day. Um, and even when he came home, it wasn't until about a year after he became sober that we actually like met again. We actually really worked on us. It took a long time to get there. I don't know if that answered your question.
No, it did, it absolutely did, because
Yeah.
people need to see not to give up. You see,
Yeah.
that's the first thing we do is we get angry and we run. We
Yes.
close the
I
doors, we
wanted
put
to.
up walls. Yeah, oh,
I
right.
wanted to run. I wanted to
Mhm,
say go. I wanted him to heal and to fix because this alcoholism was from, oh my gosh, his mom dying at the age of 15. That was the
mhm,
root cause. He had lived so many years with this, and so I needed him to heal. But I 100% wanted to walk away. I really truly did. I felt like it would have been easier. It probably would have, but it would not have
but you might
landed me
not
where I'm
have
at right
what you
now.
got right now if it did.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yes, because our family is so much stronger now. Our girls are absolutely amazing. Um, they can talk openly about everything that has happened with both their parents. And I just think I think that's amazing.
It also taught them to fight for what they love.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
I think for the longest time, I felt I was doing my girls a disservice because they would see me broken. They would see me cry. Um, they see my anxiety. They see the attacks that I have. Um, and it wasn't until all of this happened and I just kind of quit worrying about the outside world and what other people thought that I realized I'm actually teaching them resilience, which is part of the reason we came up with the name Resilience Reborn, because my girls firsthand know what it's like to see people and be in the depths of despair and to come back stronger from it. So I've learned now that it's actually really powerful how our pain can teach others.
Absolutely. We've got this, I think we have a misconception of what waiting on the Lord means.
Mhm.
And we think that, it's just going to happen right now, but he tells us to wait on
Yeah.
him. And when we do that and we listen, the outcome is so much better. And,
Yes.
I don't know if anybody's told you this, but when I saw the two of you together in Nashville, I saw the beauty
Oh,
of the tragedy. I saw the
yeah.
beauty that has come from the ashes. And I met your daughter and just the whole thing. And
Yeah.
that's powerful, Angie. It's
Yeah.
powerful. It's a gift. And I don't ever want you to think that it's not. And that,
Oh,
you
thank you.
guys you have a beautiful story, you have a beautiful life, and it's going to help so many other people. And you and I know that marriage isn't easy. You could have had a fight last night, I mean,
Yeah.
that's just what happens. Uh,
Yeah.
but you're still trying to make a difference. And you're
Yes.
out here doing this podcast, you're letting other people share their stories, and that's something you're doing together. And
Yes.
that's a powerful thing. But, you're doing more than that. You're on my show, Trey's getting ready to be on the show, and Trey is also helping other people to overcome addiction.
Yes, 100%. He's such a
Mhm.
rock star.
That
Such a
wouldn't
rock
have
star.
happened had he not went through that. And look at the
Yes.
lives that both of you together are changing.
Yeah. It truly, and I love talking to you and people that are in this arena because I
Mhm.
don't feel like the normal person understands. I
They
really
don't.
they just, even and as much as I love my friends and the ones that are so dear to me, even family sometimes, unless you've been through this, you just can't
Mhm,
understand. You can't fathom. And I
mm-mm,
think that is a lot of what why I'm so excited about this and doing this podcast and being on other podcasts, because I'm able to give people the platform that I never had. I look at all of the guests on my podcast and I'm actually in awe of their perspective and what they bring, because I didn't have that when this happened to me. I didn't have people like that to go to or to have discussions with. And I can't imagine if I had, clearly I wouldn't be here right now, I don't think. So I'm thankful for that. But I just love the opportunity that I'm here being able to talk with you and to meet you, knowing that we have two crazy different stories, but the outcome is the same, right? We are here to show people that you can be better and that there are ways to make that happen.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'm impressed with everything you guys are doing, what you've overcome, and that you truly are resilient. You really
Oh,
are.
thank you. Thank
Mhm.
you.
So
We
I really
we are
appreciate
trying.
you being on the show. Yeah, yeah, and you should
No.
be. You should be proud of
Yes, thank
yourselves. You should be, what people think is, "I'm just gonna give up because it's easier," and they might stay in the marriage, and they might stay, and have this life, but they don't wanna talk about it, they don't wanna share it. But
yeah,
that's the healing part for you, and then it
right.
helps others to say, well, my story's not as bad as hers. Maybe I can get
Right.
through this.
Yeah.
Or my
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
is similar to hers and she overcome it. Maybe I can too. And,
Hmm.
I didn't like to talk about my story either because I was embarrassed.
Yeah.
I destroyed my life. I destroyed my family's life. And I'm like, dang, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want people to know. But
Yeah.
then people need to know that
Yes. And
it's okay.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Trey will talk to that too, but that
Mhm.
was where he was too. He was very afraid. He was afraid of what people would think.
Yeah.
And and I think me too to a certain degree. I n-
Absolutely.
yeah, not that my story is, shameful or bad, it's just, I had people say to me, "Why can't you just move on?" And that made me feel less than. Because they said, a lot of people would say, "Angie, you have a beautiful life now. Why can't you just move on?" If they only knew, you don't move on. You move forward. And you have to pick
Exactly.
up every single day and choose to live that life and do the work because of
You
what you
do.
have faced.
And
So I
life doesn't
think
stop.
no,
Life
it
doesn't
just
stop.
and that was one thing that got me. Like I saw, right after it happened and people just kept going on with their life. And I was like, how can you do that? How when I'm sitting
Mhm.
here and I'm in so much pain? So there were just so many things. But I think when Trey and I made the commitment to one another that this is what we're gonna do, we are gonna start this podcast and we are gonna tell our stories and we're gonna be proud of them. And it's gonna help so many
Absolutely.
people that I think that was the shift in so many things in our life. And
Mhm.
we saw more joy, we saw more, more peace and just the powerfulness of sharing. So I'm super thankful that we are here right now and this is what we're doing. Yeah.
I'm proud of both of you. I really am.
Thank
So
you. Thank
glad I
you.
got to meet you. Glad we've been
Oh
able
my
to
gosh, I can't wait for
start to grow
everything
our
and just
relationship.
to
Yes, it's
continue.
going to
I
be
know,
some good
continue our
stuff coming down the
relationship and
pipe.
see all the things that'll come from it. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Angie. I appreciate it. And
Yes.
give our people one parting word of advice on how they can become the best version of themselves while they're still suffering.
Um, I think I think I would have to say that you have to get up every day, no matter where you are in your life, and you have to choose the joy, choose that you are an incredible person and that with the self-work that you can do anything to get through anything. I mean, as far like I got through the death of my husband at the age of 25 because I just chose to wake up every single day and do the best that I possibly could. Take the resources that you have, lean into your pain and your grief, accept it,
Hmm.
um, and know that it will travel with you, but it will look different day to day, and to just really trust that you're here for a reason. I think that's you're still here and there's a reason why. You just have to put in the work.
Nope. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Stay tuned for another wonderful episode coming up next. It's actually going to be Angie's husband, but you're going to have to wait. See you in about a week. Take care, guys.